Hey guys, welcome back. We're back outside today. And if you're new here, welcome to Growing Wilder. My name is Alyssa and I garden in New York, Zone 7B. And on this channel, we try and get a little wilder by trying to focus on native plants to make our gardens, our backyards, a more welcoming place for wildlife while also making it someplace that's beautiful and that we can enjoy as well. So today we are going to be doing the August garden tour. The good, the okay, and the disappointing. I have mixed feelings about my garden this year, but we'll talk through that. I'm going to change things up today from our usual garden tours. I'm going to take you around myself, and we are going to start off in the backyard since that's actually what usually shines the most in the summer, but we'll talk about things. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's start in the back garden bed. There's usually a bit more color going on in here, but as I've said in a previous video, I didn't plant as many annuals as I usually do. But let's look at the annuals I did plant, and these I'm very excited about. So all of these pinks and the kind of white, creamy pink, these are all dwarf zinnias, and you guys, I love them. I just feel like they're thriving. They're constant color. They are so pretty, and I'm definitely going to get more of them for next year. They're the perfect understory plant, if you ask me. I have some other supertunias that I planted as well, but I planted these kind of late, some supertunias as well as some superbinas, and they look good, especially because I planted them late. And I have to say, in the past couple of weeks, they really started thriving, and I think the combination between them and the dwarf zinnias is really nice. I did plant some regular size zinnias as well, which I haven't been clipping. With zinnias, the best thing to do for them really is to cut them, and it'll encourage them to grow more flowers. But I haven't been doing that, and truthfully, I didn't plant as many of them as I usually do. So they're not shining right now, but they still look really good. I'm happy that they are here. We have a crepe myrtle in this garden bed that, sorry for the light guys, I know it's going to be kind of hard to see. This crepe myrtle blooms the last out of pretty much every crepe myrtle in my neighborhood. Interestingly, this year it's feeling like, even though she is starting to bloom, I don't think we're going to get as many blooms on her this year. She's just not popping as much as she did last year. And I think that happened the year. I think what I've noticed with this crepe myrtle is it does tend to skip every other year. It looks really good. So this year might not be a year where she's showing off too much. The other crepe myrtle we have in this garden bed is more shrub-like in its habit. And I think this was blooming last garden tour as well. You guys can see that the blooms are already starting to fade, but she's still going. I, of course, love the color, and I do really like the shrub-like stature of this one. This one always blooms before the other one, though. Then the rest in here, this is that false cypress, which I think eventually I'm going to move because it's not as bad this year as it is in other years, but it's definitely not thriving in this location. It tends to get overshadowed really easily. There's the Japanese maple, which is my mom's favorite tree. And this has grown a lot actually. And this is definitely one of those times where I didn't really think about its placement when we first put it in because it was smaller and there was nothing else here. But now I'm questioning if it needs to be exactly in this spot because it definitely, she's spreading her wings. Let's just say that. We also have this Golden Celebration David Austin, which most of the roses are not in bloom anymore. I might take this one out. I haven't been having really good luck with roses in this garden bed. We did for the first couple of years, but definitely the last few years I've tried to have different roses in this spot. And even though this spot gets a lot of sun, it's particularly late afternoon sun and really hot. And I think maybe some of the plants like the roses, Whoa, look at that wind. Oh my gosh. Some of the plants, like the roses, maybe aren't getting as much sun as they would like to. The other thing is this garden bed is watered by sprinklers, and they're always getting wet because of the sprinklers. And you guys can see we do suffer from black spot in my area. So we'll see if this one ends up staying here. These brown looking stalks are a pink daylily that's gone. And then if we walk around, we'll get to see the hibiscus. So I can't even really fully get back there because of all the plants that are growing in. But this is one of our 2 hibiscus plants. This one has a lighter pink bloom. This one got set back because it used to be more up front in the garden bed, and I moved her back here. I think it was just 2 years ago. So she would have much more blooms and be much taller, but there was definitely some shock because of the transplant, but she's still alive, and I bet next year she's gonna get back to her full capacity. We have the other hibiscus here, which hopefully I'm gonna be able to get some photos for you guys. There is going to be a few of these plants that I'm gonna have to insert photos in because they're not in bloom at the moment. This hibiscus was blooming, and you can see she's got some new flowers getting ready to come up, and you can kind of get an idea of the size. Let me zoom out a little bit. You can kind of get an idea of the size of these hibiscus because we put the 2 in at the same time, but this one's never been moved. That might change, but you can see how big the other one was, but it was smothering a lot of things in the front, and that's why she had to be moved back. Hopefully I'll be able to insert some photos of what this hibiscus looks like when it's in bloom. It's a completely different color. Now, as I take a step back, you guys can see that I'm gonna have to do some more garden editing because there is a lot of these native plants here that are fine, but I probably don't need quite this many, and I need to see what this is. I have to look this up. I actually don't know what this is. I have to make sure that's not an invasive species. If you haven't yet, go check out my previous video where we talk about weeding versus editing your garden. I'm no longer using the term weeding, but the area could use some editing, just so it shows off a little better and more things that I want to thrive. Okay, let's take a look at the veggie garden, and let's talk about my first disappointment. So if you guys have seen any of my other videos, you would know that we have some grapevines that are growing completely wild. I haven't trained these at all. I guess they're reaching for the sun. They are growing all along the house. Mom says she doesn't mind, so I might let that rock and just see what happens. But I'm gonna have to do some research this year on how to take care of and train these grapevines. But the reason why these are a disappointment is because all the grapes are gone. I came out here one day and I looked around and I realized every single grape was gone. Oh, look, here's one. Oh, it's so small. And one's a little raisin. So this is actually a good example. This whole thing was filled with grapes. There were clusters like these all over. Actually, look. Can you guys see them? These little shriveled up. Yeah, those were all grapes. And this is all that's left. I'm pretty sure the birds got to them. At first I wanted to blame the squirrels, but I think those are the birds. Let's try this little guy. Let's see. I was so excited to get grapes, guys. Let's see if this tastes like anything. It does taste like a grape. Ugh. Okay, so next year, we're going to focus on how do we protect the grapes from the wildlife, particularly the birds, because I really, really would like to get some grapes. Now, the good thing is, as long as I don't move these grapevines, which TBD, that may or may not happen, They should produce really well next year, I'm assuming, because they had a good number this year, and this was the first year they were producing grapes. So even though I didn't get to enjoy any, I'm hopeful for next year, and hopefully maybe I'll have them better trained as well. But all right, let's get back to the rest of the veggie garden. All right, let's go into the mess of the veggie garden. So first of all, we literally cannot even walk this way because of the dahlias. The dahlias that are growing themselves and have definitely multiplied and are all over the place. I didn't plant any other dahlias this year. That's one of the annuals that I have been planting and loving and making bouquets. I don't know, guys. Gardening, life, it's just all been a mess. I think today, though, I will cut some of these dahlias because they are there and they're pretty. And it'd be nice to have some cut flowers, and maybe it'd be nice to walk this way in my garden. All right, some of the tomatoes. So this one I believe is cherry bomb. Really the only tomatoes that we're getting so far are all of the cherry tomatoes. Cherry bomb, and actually no, this one is pink bumble. This is cherry bomb, and then there's a sun gold over here, and I think one that grew itself over here as well. The tomatoes that I grew and planted myself, the black crim, nada, nothing. Then I have Cherokee purple. Maybe there's some hope, but I haven't gotten one off of it yet. They're growing, they're just not growing very impressively. And I do think this is a little bit more my fault than anything else. I don't think I got them out here or started them early enough. But we are getting some tomatoes, some that grew themselves, and a few of the cherry tomatoes that I did start myself. The basil's doing fine. You can see I have let a lot of the basil bloom. You really want to cut off the basil blooms so that the leaves don't get bitter. And then when you're taking basil for your cooking, don't just pull off a leaf. You actually want to cut it, and that encourages it to grow more leaves as well and be a little bit bushier. We have been cutting it off, but truthfully I have been letting a lot of it go to flower, and I'm okay with that for this year. Everything is a little crazy this year, guys, as you can see. Now when we look at the peppers, the Scotch bonnet peppers, doing fine. They don't have any blooms on them yet, but that doesn't surprise me. When I grew them for the first time last year, they were the last ones to produce any peppers, but they produced very vigorously once they started. The jalapenos, on the other hand, are also doing really, really well. They started first before anybody, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, it's not a ton of jalapenos, but it's enough. I'm happy with the jalapenos. This is the pimento that Mom and I started from seeds, from some pimento seasoning peppers that we had in the house. And same thing, hasn't produced any peppers yet, but they're coming. I can see, let me see if I can show you guys. Can you guys see those little buds that are getting ready to form? And then same thing with the cayenne peppers. I was worried that these were not going to produce because I put them in at the same time as I put in the jalapenos, and they just kind of sat around for a long time and didn't do anything, but they're finally starting to get some flowers. So we should be getting some cayenne peppers. Actually, we do have a few. So I'm gonna let those rock. Very exciting. Kind of look like chili peppers. Maybe they're all the same thing. I don't know. I'm not a big pepper person. I'm actually growing, pretty much the only reason I'm growing all of these hot peppers is for my boyfriend. He really likes hot peppers, and I said, fine. I haven't had much success growing the sweet peppers, so these have been kind of fun, and I like the spice too. I really have liked growing like the jalapenos, for example. They're just so much more flavorful and hot than the ones that we can get at the store, or at least that I can get at the store. Coming over here, the cucumbers, they slowed down for a while, but we got a bunch of cucumbers off of them. I'm trying to see, oh, here we go. You guys can see she's starting to produce a little bit more again as well. Here we go. These two cucumber plant. So I'm excited to get some more cucumbers as well. But again, as I've said before, I planted this cherry tree here, and while I love the cherry tree, this was a mistake for my vegetable garden. But you live and you learn. The blueberries are done. I need to take the netting down, but it actually did a good job. One of the few things we were able to get this year were blueberries. And then at some point, I do need to carve a path to get over here and see what's going on. I had some Amish paste tomatoes. This is a tomato that grew itself and it's just growing completely wild. The other thing that's taking over is the squash, which I'm not surprised at. Again, that's my fault. I didn't train it, but here's a little baby butternut squash. There's probably a couple of more tucked around. So I need to go hunting for more butternut squash. And there's also acorn squash, and I planted another one as well, which I can't remember now. Some other winter squash. I don't know that they did as well. I planted them first, but I don't see any. Yeah, I don't see any, but the butternut squash tends to do really, really well. Oh, guys, look at these. Look at these dahlias. I mean, this is just madness. And then I have some carrots in here, which they seem to be doing pretty well, actually. I should probably pull these soon, cook something with them. All right, let's get out of the veggie patch. All right, so now if we look at my orchard row, we have some very nice black-eyed Susans that I think they grew themselves. I don't remember putting these here, not 100% sure, but they look very nice under the Pink Lady apple tree, which has the same lonely solitary apple here, still on the tree. So I'm just gonna leave her alone, see how she does. And then if we come over to the Fuji apple tree, you guys will remember there were a bunch of apples on this tree. We got not a one. Not one. This one, I'm pretty sure once again, it was the squirrels. I just feel like one day I came out and I was like, I feel as if there's fewer apples on this tree. Wasn't 100% sure. Came back another day or two and there was not any apples on the tree. There's one, looks like, that something has gotten into. So I'll probably leave that one where it is. But this is one of those things that I'm fairly disappointed about. There were so many apples on this tree and I was really excited to get these apples. It didn't really produce much last year. This year they're looking really good and it's my fault. I didn't protect them, but I don't know. I guess I just thought I would be able to get to a lot of this produce before the animals did. I was wrong. You know, like I said, we're out here trying to get wilder, make things more habitable for the wildlife. And I don't mind them eating some of the things, but we need to share. I want some of the produce too. You know, you wait all year for this stuff and to not get any, it's a little frustrating. But we're learning. We're learning, guys. Now, what I did manage to get some of was the peaches, and they were delicious. I probably pulled them a little bit sooner than I absolutely had to, but one day I was looking out in the backyard and I noticed a squirrel on the peach tree. I came out here like an old angry man saying, "Get off my lawn," and chased the squirrel off the peach tree. And that day I gathered up all the peaches that were on the tree. And I'm pretty sure it got some because, again, I was looking at it and thinking, I feel as if there were more peaches on this tree. But I got them all. They didn't look great. If you guys remember, the tree had peach curl and it can sometimes make the fruit look a little off, but it doesn't affect the eatability. So if you got past them looking a little quirky, they were delicious. So that's a win for this year, and I have to remember that. Didn't get to get any apples, but we did get some peaches. And we got plums earlier in the year as well. So you win some, you lose some. Continuing on with our fruit trees that are a little bit disappointing are my citrus trees. So this is the lime tree. Oh, I'm just seeing now there's one lime that maybe is going to stick around. So all of these citrus trees we got last year, and the lime produced really well. We have some Kalamata limes over here. The oranges haven't ever produced. A navel orange as well as a Valencia orange. And I'm not shocked at the oranges not producing. I know this isn't exactly the right climate for them. And there's lemons here as well. And initially, in the beginning of the year, there were some fruit that were starting, but none of them have stuck around. And again, I'm going to have to do some more research. The plants themselves look fine. There's been a lot of new growth, but I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on how to keep these productive or productive at all in an environment where they're not native. This is not where they're supposed to be growing. I can't leave these outside over the winter, so I do have to bring them inside, and I think that does cause them to struggle some. It's one of the things that I would really love to have a greenhouse for, not only to start seeds, but to have some of these plants that could produce, but it's just not the right environment for it. So I'm gonna have to do some research on how to better take care of them over the winter. And hopefully maybe next year we get some more citrus trees. I don't know, we'll see. It's because I really like them. I love the Kalamata limes. It's really fun to be able to pick your own limes when you're cooking or making drinks. And if I could get an orange, just one orange, I'd be so excited. But more research, at least the plants aren't dead. I think that's the key. And then eventually I'll figure out how to optimize them so that they can actually produce some fruit. Now, the rose arch, you can see, again, similar to the grapes, growing out of control. I need to trim these back. I need to train them. The Eden climber is starting to go along the house wall, which again, kind of like the grapes, I might leave that alone and see what they do. There's nothing to hold on to though, so maybe I'll put some stuff up. Maybe I'll see. I think it could be really awesome to have the climber growing along the side of the house. I think that would look really pretty, but definitely needs some maintenance attention here. If we continue along down the path, it's August, guys, so there's a lot of things that are not looking so hot. They're definitely looking a little bit crispy. It's just that time of year. On this side, we have some daylilies that I need to come and cut back. There's a few black-eyed Susans, and I believe it's ironweed that I planted here. I'd honestly have to look back to be sure. There's some catmint, which I don't think you can see them very well on the lighting. The catmint is doing okay. As I've said before, I never shear them back, so their second flush isn't necessarily the best. But you can see it's flushed out again a little bit here. I've got some new green growth. Maybe next year I'll consider cutting them back after the first flush, but there you can kind of see it. I was trying to show you guys the bees and other pollinators are still enjoying them. Back here though, we have some yarrow, which is still blooming. And this is one of those things that I need to take note of and say, oh, I probably need to plant more of these in the garden, because here we are late August and the yarrow is still blooming. So I need to get more yarrow and maybe make this a little yarrow patch. I planted these two here this year, so they'll start to look better and better. I have this that's coming over the fence from the neighbor. Earlier today, I tried to see what it was using my app, but the connection wasn't good, so I still need to check. I mean, it's my neighbor's plant, so I'm not going to do anything to it, but I do want to tell them I probably will cut these branches just because they're coming over on the crabapple. These, as long as it's nothing that's bad or invasive, I'll probably leave alone, but this, it's creating some kind of berry, so I'll have to see what this is. But like I said, I might cut that back just so that it's not on top of the crabapple. On the other side of the path, we have our woolly aster, goldenrod, and more tomatoes. I mean, guys, this is crazy. I have tomato plants growing everywhere, and they just keep coming. I mean, it's really crazy. Really, really crazy. We look at the planters, they did okay this year. Again, I kind of think this is more my fault than the plant's fault. This is the Super Tunia Vista Jazzberry, which still looks great. Nothing else. I had some Super Beanas in here. I had some other stuff in here, I swear. Can't see them at all. So I think next year I probably will actually use the Super Tunia Vistas in the landscape, as I think they're really designed to be and not in the pots. I love them. I love the cascading effect that they give, but they definitely overshadow everything else. Over here, there's my lone allium. The other one perished this year for some reason. And then I have a couple of clumps of coneflowers, some echinacea, which are doing fine. You can see what happens as the blooms start to go away. At least this one gets this really dark, kind of weird looking bloom stuff, but again, I'm probably just going to leave that alone. There's a lot of space here for me to put some more ground cover like plants, which I will be doing this year. You guys will remember I cleaned up this area, took out some of the native plants that maybe, or actually in this area there was a lot of that invasive plant. The plan is to come in and do some more ground cover plants, but that's going to be for a next year project. The second planter here has some super bells, which these I think will be fine to keep in planters. They just behave a little bit more. They play a little bit better with the others. I had this hybrid dahlia, which, I don't know, didn't thrive. And the salvia, definitely, this was a no. So we'll have to do something else here. In the back here, we have some phlox that's blooming. Some more coneflowers. A few black-eyed Susans. And we have some verbena, which are flopping all over the place, but the pollinators love this plant. So I'm just going to leave her alone. And we have milkweed that's popped up all over the place. Here again, we have Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum, which she is full of blooms, but looking super leggy because she's hanging so far down. I think probably because of this crepe myrtle, which hopefully I'll be able to get a picture for you guys, had so many blooms this year. Looked beautiful. But I am going to have to cut her back because she's blocking the way into the backyard. But I think because this one has grown so much, this pot is now in more shade than it usually was. So Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum still performed like mad, but she is really hanging out the pot. I assume to try and get some more light. Like I said, I think I'm going to put the Super Tunias in the ground next year so they can really thrive and really show off. Not as much going on this side of the path. The ferns just really take over. I have the peony, which is fine, and the random tomato, which grew herself. It has produced some really good tomatoes though. There's one back here right now. And there's still more asters and goldenrod here, which should give us some more color into the fall, as well as catmint, although that's mostly for the summer. This is an area that I think I'm going to have to rework a bit and really think about. It's definitely very bushy, which I don't mind, but I needed to do a little bit more, I think. So I think I need to be a little bit more intentional with this area. Okay, let's head to the front. So now we're in the front garden path, which there's not too much going on here. This is another garden bed where I need to think about putting some more plants in for later in the year. It looks really good in the spring. And we have our thunderclap plum here. Looks really good in the spring, not so much in the late summer. But again, I think this is an area that's suffering because I just didn't put a lot of annuals in this year. Life just kind of caught up with me. So Our Princess Anne rose, though, she's looking great. She is loving this spot. This seems to be a really good spot for this rose. She bloomed again a few weeks ago, and oh, the smell, love it, love it, love it, love it. My last video, I showed you guys we are extending or expanding this front garden bed. And the plan for here is we're going to take these boxwoods, move them back a little bit. I'll probably do that in another month or so. And then we have all of this space to plant some new things. And this is another area that I'm really excited about planting some more perennials and being a little bit more intentional about this garden bed. I got a native cultivar of these threadleaf coreopsis, which will produce these cute yellow blooms that bloom for a long time. So I'm excited about that. And this is another bed where I'm thinking I definitely need more perennials, but I already have a good idea of what I want to do for the annuals in this garden bed. So I think the name of the game for next year is going to be being intentional. I also got these cone flowers, this echinacea, I guess I should say, which they're going to be a cultivar, but I just couldn't resist this pink and this fluffy texture. I only got 3. I think I might go back and get 2 more, make it a little bit of a drift, and maybe get another one of another color to keep it going in the bed a little bit. I don't know. I have to think. I just want to fill out this bed a little bit more. It definitely suffered from a little bit of lack of attention in some ways this year. As we cross over to the other side of the front yard, which for the garden bed that got the most attention this year, before we get there, we have to talk about these phlox. I don't know what variety of phlox these are, but guys, these smell so good. And this is one of those plants that the neighbors have stopped me on their walks to ask me what this plant is. And I don't think I noticed last year how good these smelled, but they give off a beautiful, beautiful scent, and I am definitely getting more phlox for the garden this year. You can see the butterfly bush still has a little bit of color. They're definitely petering out, but I like them. They're not the optimal pollinator for this area because they're not native, but they are pretty. I like the color and I like the height that it brings to this garden bed as well. This is another garden bed that, as I think about projects to come, I might expand this garden bed a little. Not even so much because of the plants, although I do think if I make it a little bit deeper, I can again be more intentional about planting different things. But I realized the way I did it, I feel as if it awkwardly ends here next to this pillar, and then there's this little patch of grass here, which I don't know that makes sense. I'm thinking of maybe bringing it out to maybe about here so that there won't be any grass here. And if I bring it out like that, it can make it a little bit deeper. And again, be a little bit more intentional about this garden bed. That's really going to be the name of the game for next year. Now, we come over to the soft landing garden bed under the oak tree, which is really what got the most attention this year, I have to say. And I'm really happy with this garden bed, how it's starting to shape up. All of these plants are just, a month or 2 old. So they're all just growing in. I cannot wait to see what this looks like next year and really the next year after that, because that's when it's going to start to look spectacular. But the wild geranium is coming up. I did throw some wildflower seeds down, so a couple of random cutesy little flowers are coming up. I'm thinking for this fall, I'm going to get some phlox for this area and on the other side as well to match and have those kind of mounding phlox. I think that'll look really nice in early spring. We have the downy wood mint. I have a wild ginger, which doesn't look like she survived being planted, but I'm going to leave it alone. It didn't look good when I put it in, but as long as those roots are alive, she should still be alive. Over here, we have the great blue lobelia, and I'm going to link where I got these plants down below, guys. I got most of the plants for this garden bed from a website called Garden for Wildlife. And as I've said before, I really like them because they give you an array of options that are native for your area, local. They only ship when the plants are actually going to thrive. And I think it's a good place to get some good foundation plants for your native garden. So we have the great blue lobelia, Virginia mountain mint, goldenrod. This is a better shot of the great blue lobelia. For whatever reason, this one is outperforming the others. Maybe she's getting a little bit more sun. Here's the yarrow, which are supposed to be able to tolerate a little bit more shade compared to the ones that I have in the back, and they seem to be okay. There was one that did have some blooms, which has flopped over, but you can see by the leaves, you know, they're growing. Like I said, they've only been in the ground for just a couple of weeks, and they're looking really good. And then if they're anything like the ones in the back, once they start blooming, hopefully we'll get some good color from them later on in the year. This is wild bergamot. This patch here is looking really good. No blooms yet, and a lot of these are going to bloom in the spring because they're shade tolerant plants, but this patch is looking really good. I have a few California poppies that I put in a few weeks ago, the same time that I put in the wild ginger. So they're just getting their footing. A couple more little wildflowers, just adding a little bit of color. Some golden Alexander. In the front we have the zigzag Alexander. And then back to the wild geraniums. Is this one blooming or is this somebody else? Ooh, this is something else. We're gonna have to look this one up, guys. I don't know what she is. Probably another one of the wildflower seeds that I planted. Looks good though. Okay guys, we're back where we started, in the backyard in our summer garden bed. I hope you enjoyed the tour. As I said before, I'm a little disappointed in the garden this year, but I guess it's not really the garden that I'm disappointed in. I must feel a little bit disappointed and frustrated in myself. This is not my garden at its peak. It's just not. And I have this vision in my head of the garden at its peak when it was overflowing with tomatoes and overflowing with flowers. I mean, just beautiful. And I'm striving for that, but it's not there. And so I feel disappointed. And I've said this in other videos. I think I need to take a step back and again remember what gardening is about. Gardening can be frustrating. As I said before, with the fruit trees and everything getting stolen by all of the animals, gardening can be frustrating because these things are not here all the time. Or I'm not living in constant abundance, at least when it comes to the garden, right? You start things from seed, you baby them for weeks, you then put them out in the garden, hoping that they're going to flourish. And then, through what's usually mostly human error, things don't go according to plan. And it can feel frustrating because I'm thinking, well, now I have to wait a whole other year to try again. But that's not the right mentality to have. And I get reminded of that when I'm outside in the garden and how much calmer and happier I am when I'm out here just doing silly things, really just doing some basic maintenance. I'm really happy out here. And I have to pay attention to the things that are doing really well, right? As I said, I love these zinnias. I mean, I started them late, I threw them out here, and look at them just taking off. I love these. Going to get so many more of these. The black-eyed Susans that grew themselves. The fact that even though I didn't get to eat any of the grapes, the grapevines are just exploding and they made a good amount of grapes. Yes, I killed half my strawberries. But we did get some delicious strawberries, and the blueberries were delicious. And we actually got a good amount of them this year mostly because my boyfriend put the netting up. So next year, intention and protection. That's going to be the name of the garden in 2026. But the point is, I need to not be so hard on myself and my garden, and to enjoy the beauty that's there and to enjoy the process. I keep having to remind myself that I'm in a different place in my life and I can't spend as much time in my garden as I used to. And that's a good thing, right? The things that have taken me away from my garden, I love and I'm enjoying, and that's enriching my life. I can't spend all of my free time out here in the garden puttering around. And so the garden is maybe not looking what I would define as her peak, but that's okay. These things aren't going to flourish in 1 year or even 2 years. We'll be here for a while. It's my mom's house. She's going to be here for a while. The things that we're doing to improve the garden over the years to come, that's when it's going to, pun not intended, bear fruit, right? I have to remember that one big difference between this year and some of the other years is I was planting new garden beds and expanding garden beds, newer and bigger projects than I've done in the past. And it wasn't just maintenance. I'm in that tug of war now between the original set of plants that I put in. They already got the original set of plants that I put in, trying to figure out how to maintain those things while continuing to do other projects. And then reminding myself all things are not going to look amazing and great and 100% all of the time, because this is life. So we need to give ourselves and our gardens some grace. So I'm speaking to anyone else out there who, if you're like me, is a little bit frustrated at this garden season, and probably primarily frustrated because of yourself. Give yourself some grace. Look and notice the beauty that's around you, the abundance that you did get. There are positives, and learn. We're all still learning, right? This is one of the things I said, I think in the beginning, what attracted me to gardening so much is there's no way to do it perfectly. And I am forever going to be learning how to become a better and better gardener. So don't compare yourself to other people. I have to remind myself of that too. I look at some of the other gardens online on YouTube and I think, oh my God. I mean, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. There's a healthy amount of envy there, I think. But then I have to take a step back and realize this is my life and my garden. And you know what? She's beautiful too. And we're doing the best we can. And you know what? We're doing a good job. So thanks for coming along on this August garden tour, guys. And thanks for joining me on this journey. As I've said before, we're also shifting our journey a little bit. Before, I was often focused on, I did have a preference for native plants and pollinator plants, but this year I really sort of honed in on them. So thank you for joining me on this journey as I develop as a gardener, as I get a little wilder outside, as I continue on these projects. There's many, many more to come. Give yourself some grace. Give me some grace. And I hope you guys get a chance to get outside and truly enjoy your garden. Until next time, guys. Bye. Guys, let me tell you something. I just had to stop filming for about 5 minutes because I could hear something. I didn't know what, something moving around in the background, and it was freaking me out. I didn't know if it was a little field mouse or what it was. I think it's a cicada. They are so loud. Their wings are so loud because I'm like jumping around scared because I don't, and it's stupid, right? Why are you afraid of a field mouse? I know it's more afraid of me than I am of it. Although that's not a lie. I think I'm more afraid of it than it is of me, but it doesn't know that, okay? Anyway, I finally realized that kind of rustling, flapping that I was hearing, pretty sure it was a cicada. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking about.